All right, so I'm here with Laura Maestas,
Yeah.
and if you can please like introduce yourself and what you got your bachelor's degree in, and the jobs are like I know you had multiple science or like science related jobs. If you can like just say those.
Yeah. So, hi, my name is Laura Maestas. I attended UCSB from 2009 to 2013. I graduated in 2013 with a BS in environmental science with an emphasis in chemistry. Um, I graduated in 2013, like I said, and my first job after college was in the lab for a juice processor, a processor for like orange and lime, and basically all citrus juice. And so that was my first job as a lab technician, working in the lab, running analyticals on the orange juice, just different testing that I never knew went on, in making orange
Mm-hmm.
juice. Like the amount of science that goes into making orange juice is pretty crazy, especially when you're, doing it on a commercial level. After that, I went more into like the cleaning and sanitation. So I then became the plant hygienist and oversaw like the sanitation team, which is also pretty crazy when you think about it. It's not just cleaning. Like you have to use certain chemicals, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to know the chemistry behind those chemicals and how they work, because believe it or not, like a certain chemical will clean like a certain like type of food residue off of like these huge tanks that held like 10,000 gallons of orange juice, or like a million gallons of orange juice. It was pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my science background definitely helped me, get to that role and oversee that department. At that time, I started working more with the micro lab because,
Mm-hmm.
so most of the time when you have a quality or micro issue in your food product, it's due to like lack of sanitation, or like something went wrong in the process itself, or like pasteurization.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that got me a little bit more exposed to the micro, and then I went on to a quality assurance supervisor role, and then I moved companies and became a quality assurance manager, and the I oversaw the labs and the sanitation and like the regulatory departments for this company that produced frozen fruits and vegetables. And in total, I did about almost 10 years working, in those different food sectors. So, yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of experience, but that's also like that's like I feel like that's a really good experience because you got like you said you got what in sanitary, and then you kind of got like more in the lab, so you kind of like were able
Yeah.
to kind of hit like different like spots, I guess you can say.
Yeah, it was really cool. It's a lot of stuff that like people that haven't worked in the food industry don't realize, like
Mm-hmm.
how much how much like science goes on behind the
Right.
actual
Yeah.
process for like making a cup of orange juice, or like steaming up a bag of vegetables that was frozen. Like
Yeah.
or like frozen food entrees, that kind of stuff. And that goes for
Yeah.
any food that you eat. There's just a lot of science that goes on behind the
Yeah,
scenes.
for sure.
Yeah.
So what kind of like inspired you to kind of go, I guess, in this more environmental or more like food science field? I guess you can
Uh-huh.
say, in like how,
Yeah.
or you already said how you got started, but what made you like kind of want to go in that field?
Well, I was after I graduated, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my degree. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
stick to the sciences, so I thought maybe I'll be, a high school science teacher, or maybe I'll, do something else. I was leaning more towards becoming a teacher, but
Mm-hmm.
the first job I had was, in the food field, in the food. So, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna give this a chance, and then I'll go back and get my teaching credentials and whatever. So the more I got into the food science, I was more interested in it, and it was really interesting. Like, I mean, it was really interesting in the fact that like that I was able to apply a lot of like my science background, and like
Mhm.
more of like that mind, like more of like the mindset you get when you're going through science courses. Like you had to, use like the different like theories, the different methods, and like
Mhm. Yeah.
I had that mindset already, so
Yeah.
that's why I just decided to stick in food science.
Yeah. So maybe like more specifically for your like your more lab tech job, what did like a
Uh-huh.
typical day look for you like in the lab?
So for the lab tech job, so you, let me see. So you'd come in, and just depending on whatever product you were running, you had to
Mhm.
test it for, like, for example, in the orange juice, I remember you had to collect your samples in a very hygienic way, without contaminating anything,
Mhm.
and you also had to run different analytics. So you did do titrations on the orange juice to find out like
Mhm.
the titratable, I can't say it, titratable acidity in it.
Mhm.
And that's pretty common too. Like you could do that in, like, the juice, you do that to wine, so it's applicable, to a lot of those different products. So you had to, that was one set of tests. You had to also like check the bricks, which is basically like the sugar content. You had to you had to actually go collect swabs from the equipment that had just been cleaned, and
Mhm.
you collected swabs to test for ATP. So
Mhm.
in the food industry, ATP is a big indicator for cleanliness, because if
Mhm.
there's no food residues, then there's likely no like bacterial growth there either.
Mhm. Right.
So that was another thing. So yeah, you had to run tests on those different products. You had to check the pulp levels. You had to do a lot of different tests. So a lot of it obviously was in the lab work as a lab technician, but sometimes you'd get like, you had to perform investigations with like the microbiologists on like different tanks that were like getting ATP hits that were like not being as clean as well. So it just depended. Sometimes you were assigned like a special project like that. But if
Mhm.
not, then you were just checking like the quality and also the chemistry of it. Like, yeah. So yeah, it varied a little bit, but mostly just like checking the different those different levels in the orange juice.
Yeah. And like in terms of that, did you like enjoy your job or were like, like did you or like there's some aspects that you didn't like about it or like, you know?
It was for the most part enjoyable. It was sometimes a little stressful, just from like, sometimes you're managing a lot of different batches that they call, like a lot of different batches. Hey, you
Mhm.
guys, keep it down. A lot of different batches of orange juice that need to be cleared so that they can be like shipped to the customer. So
Yeah.
that was the stressful part. Was just like trying to like manage all the different samples that you had to like check off, because a lot of these were going to be like pumped into big tanks that were going across the country, and the tanker has only so many hours that they can run. So like that was the most stressful part, but like it was pretty fun,
Mhm.
just running the lab by yourself, and it was enjoyable. I mean, it was like, yeah, I think it was enjoyable.
And then would you, I mean, it sounds like you did play a significant role because you're the kind of more like the sanitary, like you're kind of like giving it the green light, right? That, the
Yeah,
juice is good. Because I was gonna, the
yeah.
next question was, like how significant was your role or how
Oh
important?
yeah, yeah. When it came to like the quality part of the products, yeah, you're the one that's saying like it meets the quality, like it meets all the
Mm-hmm.
standards. But you also work really closely with the microbiologists, because they're the ones that
Mm-hmm.
are testing it and saying, yeah, like, all micros check, like there's nothing dangerous growing in whatever product that we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
ship, and like we give it like the quality assurance stamp of approval. So yes, yeah, it's like, without that, the product can't ship. It has to stay on hold, and then that becomes a whole other like issue.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so more like on the topic, I guess, of like more like the science related courses like that you took like in, college, would you say that those science courses kind of like helped you what you needed for like, your job or what, were you able to apply it at your job at least?
Yeah, yeah. Some of it I was definitely able to apply, like titrations for sure. Just
Mhm.
your precision in titrating, like you had to like know exactly how to do it, and if
Mhm.
let too much solution go through, like you had to start all over. So
Yeah.
so yeah, just knowing like the importance of precision, especially when it came to like taking measurements and just testing the products. So yeah, yeah, definitely it helped. I mean, I think I think it also, could be picked up by somebody that hasn't had a science background, but having a
Mhm.
science background helps, and it also helped
Yeah.
me. Oh my gosh, sorry, the
It's okay.
baby. That was the
It's
baby.
okay. Okay.
So what I was gonna say was having that science background also helped me move up, and understand more aspects of the whole quality assurance and food safety departments versus just having like just you know basic technique that they taught me there. So I was able to move up pretty quickly. Within like a year I was already like in a
Mhm.
supervisor role. So
Yeah.
so it did help me a lot. It helped me a lot.
And do you think that you were only like utilizing chemistry, or was there more like other things that you were like able to pull from, like I don't like this, maybe like you use like, oh, some sort of physics, or like some sort of like just regular biology, or
Yeah.
was it just mainly chemistry?
No, it was definitely chemistry and biology,
Mhm.
that I was able to pull a lot of my background knowledge on, especially when it came
Mhm.
to food microbiology. It was like
Mhm.
pretty important that I had somewhat of a background in in biology.
Mhm. And so more like, I guess, on the topic of like chemistry, were there other like, or were you like did you was there any like type of like chemistry reactions that you would like see regularly, or like that you were supposed to see, maybe like, or I guess you
Yeah.
were kind of going the titrations, right?
Yeah, well, in my other role as quality assurance manager
Mhm.
for the frozen food company that we did, that with the frozen food company that I worked for, the products that we manufactured had to undergo like a cooking process, which they call blanching, which is basically like hot steaming water, like cooking the vegetables through. And
Mhm.
that was important because in certain vegetables, there's two different enzymes that will cause like a quality issue in the future. So I
Mhm.
don't remember, I can't remember off the top of my head what those two enzymes were. Cat, no, was it? I forgot. But basically, like you did have to run a test, and the enzyme had to be deactivated. And if it wasn't deactivated, like it had to be recooked, or else once you
Mhm.
freeze the vegetables, they were going to change color, and then it was going to be a quality issue. So
Mhm.
so yeah, that was definitely another oh, and so sorry, going back to that test. So what you had to do was you had to collect a sample of the cooked product, blend it, and then you had to go through with a different titration.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it went back to a titration, and it was a color change that indicated whether that enzyme was present or absent at that time.
Mhm.
So
And
yeah.
did you regularly like any like prepare any solutions or reagents? And if so, like what was
Yeah,
the process
yeah,
like?
yeah. So we use really basic solutions, mostly for like the pH meters and trying to
Mhm.
test the meter. So it was just your three basic ones.
Mhm.
And yes, we also had to create another solution for that enzyme test. And I don't remember what it was called. It's been a couple years since I've been out. But yeah, that was another enzyme, another solution that we had to create. We
Mhm.
had to just mix, your standard with, your
And
DI.
yeah. And besides like titrations, was there like another type of maybe like chemistry instruments that you did use often?
Can you say that again?
Besides like titrations, or like, like the whole setup for a
Uh
titration,
huh.
was there like any other like type of chemistry instruments that you used often?
Let me.
Or was it mostly just that?
We used that, and then we did have. Oh, I remember using it in the lab. But the one that spins, like you put a bunch of different like tubes in there, and it like
Oh, like a
a
centrifuge?
centrifuge. Yeah, we use a centrifuge. In the oil lab at the juice manufacturer, there was also, I think it was chromatography also that they used.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there was quite a bit of different chemistry.
And it was all mostly just to like run tests on like the
Yeah,
products and
run
stuff.
tests. Yeah, run
All right.
tests.
And then how often like do you think that you worked with like these hazardous like chemicals, and like if so, like were there like certain protocols that you had to follow, or what did that look like?
Yeah, so we did work with them pretty regularly. And so, safety goggles, um, safety
Mm-hmm.
goggles. You had to wear gloves. You had to use like all your basic. But on an even bigger level, like when it came to sanitation, like you're getting big drums, like 55-gallon drums, if not like huge tankfuls of some kind of like alkaline base to help
Mm-hmm.
clean the tank. And so not only did I have to make sure that the team was trained on how to use these chemicals, but like they had certain checklists that they had to go through, that they tested the concentrations, that that they were doing everything the way that they were trained, and how to
Mm-hmm.
use it, like foamers. And so yeah, it was on an even like larger scale than in the lab. So yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions I have. But thank you for your time. Thank you for taking your time of the day to answer these
No problem.
questions for me.
Yeah, no
All right.
problem. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.